Step aside. You're in the way of a pregnant woman, Alicia said, brushing a hand over her belly with theatrical tenderness. I blinked at her, trying to process the scene. Do pregnant women usually look kind? Because there was nothing kind about Alicia's expression. It was pure malice. I glanced at David. You can sleep in the storage room, Alicia offered sweetly. David nodded in agreement. And just like that, something inside me broke. The love I'd carried for him, so long, so deep, slipped away like sand through my fingers. A faint trace lingered, yes, leaving a dull ache in its wake. But mostly, I felt empty. All right, I said quietly. David's face lit up as he reached for Alicia's hand. She looked at him with dreamy eyes, their shared affection smothering what little sadness remained in me. In its place, anger bloomed, slow and hot and steady. I'll be gone by tomorrow. Sure. Actually, David added with a grin, maybe you shouldn't even stay tonight. This is mine and Alicia's home now. I nodded once, calmly, and walked out the front door, my mind already turning to the future. A small smile tugged at my lips. My name is Catherine Taylor. I'm 46 years old, a housewife by label. Before I got married, I worked hard, really hard, but that was 2 decades ago. These days, I find joy in keeping a tidy home and sipping coffee in the morning sun, just your typical middle-aged woman. Except, I invest, have been, since before I tied the knot. Lately, those investments have paid off handsomely. I indulge in hotel brunches and the occasional luxury spa visit. I live quietly, but well. My husband, David, is 40, a salesman at a major company. He's put on quite a bit of weight in recent years and, to be honest, doesn't always smell the best. Still, he has a silver tongue, and when we met, I found his chubby, almost cartoonish charm endearing. He made me laugh. I worried about his health sometimes, but I never pushed him. I loved him as he was. We have a daughter, Emily. She takes after David, tall, slender, beautiful in that effortless, almost model-like way. But it's not just looks. She's brilliant in school, a standout athlete, and grounded in a way that surprises even me. A true swan from a pair of unremarkable geese. We doted on her, still do. People say we were too protective. Maybe they're right. David's always had a wandering eye for younger women, but he chose me, an older woman, and seemed to treasure our little family. I let the glances slide. I thought that was love. We lived in a 4-bedroom condo we bought when Emily was born. It served us well, but time wore it down, and maintenance costs were rising. Around then, Emily decided to live closer to her university, and a relative offered us an old house to inherit. It needed work, but the timing felt right. We renovated and moved in. Smaller than the condo, just 2 bedrooms, but comfortable. We made it a single story with retirement in mind. One room doubled as a study and guest room, with the option to convert it for Emily when she visits. And that's when things changed. David started coming home later and later. Client dinners, he said. Weekends, too. He always had something going on. When he did return, he reeked of booze and smoke. I couldn't stand sleeping beside him anymore, even in separate beds. I moved into the study. When it came time to send out moving announcements, I handled them. David was hopeless at that kind of thing. I wrote and mailed letters to his family and mine. My parents are gone, so I just sent a brief update to a few cousins on my mom's side. As for my father's side, we haven't been in touch for years, not since Alicia. My half-sister, 14 years younger. My mother died when I was in 7th grade. 6 months later, my father remarried. Alicia was already 2 years old then, so I assumed it was a blended family situation. 5 years into that marriage, both my father and his new wife were killed in an accident. At the funeral, I learned something unsettling. Relatives whispered that my father and his new wife had been childhood sweethearts. Everyone thought they'd end up together, but it was my mother, through a work connection, who had introduced them. My father had married her instead, out of obligation, or guilt. All those years, behind the smiles, the news of my dad having a child with his second wife was a blow I never saw coming. Every family gathering, Alicia's favorite foods were served. She wore designer clothes, had the largest room in the house, and got whatever she wanted without hesitation. Meanwhile, I was stuck doing all the housework, cooking, cleaning, laundry, while juggling part-time jobs. All the money I earned went straight into their hands. My own space was a cramped storage room under the stairs, and I had to beg just to get the basics I needed. By the time Alicia was in elementary school, she'd heard the family gossip about my mom and started treating me like I was beneath her. I worked even harder at my part-time jobs to save up enough money and finally move out. After that, I cut ties with Alicia. She wasn't someone I could ever feel anything positive toward, and I never told her about my marriage or my child. A few weeks after I moved, I was enjoying a quiet afternoon, sipping tea, when the doorbell rang. I answered, expecting a delivery, but instead, a man's voice mumbled through the intercom. Delivery. I looked down at the screen, seeing a figure I didn't recognize, thinking it might be a package from David. I opened the door. The moment I saw who was standing there, I froze. Oh, Alicia, what are you doing here? Hi, sis, long time no see. I thought I'd drop by, she said, casually wearing the same hat I had seen on the intercom. It wasn't a delivery person, it was my half-sister. Before I could respond, she breezed past me, heading straight into the living room, making herself at home on the couch. I hurried after her, standing in front of her, feeling a surge of disbelief. I figured you wouldn't open the door if you knew it was me, so I used the recorded voice, she explained with a smirk. That's just low. Ugh, you're unbelievable, I snapped. Alicia feigned surprise, putting on a dramatic act, but it was clear from the smug look on her face that she was enjoying this. I came to visit, she said with a shrug, brushing off my irritation. But sis, you never told me where you live. I'm married, but my husband's always traveling, and it gets so boring. Once I'm further along with the baby, it'll be too hard to get around, right? Everyone said I should stay with you. Just go home. I don't want anything to do with you, I retorted, the frustration bubbling over. Well, too bad. I'm already here and I'm staying, Alicia said, grinning as though she'd won some victory. Her audacity made my blood boil. Under my breath, I muttered, typical of a kleptomaniac's daughter. That hit a nerve. Alicia's face twisted with fury. Get out, I never want to see you again, I yelled. David's voice cut through the tension. What's all the fuss about? People will hear you outside, he said, walking through the door unexpectedly, his timing jarring. I turned to him, unable to form the words at first, but before I could explain anything, Alicia walked right up to him, wrapping her arm around his as if they were the best of friends. David didn't pull away. Instead, he greeted her with a wide grin. Oh, Alicia, you're here. Welcome, David said, looking genuinely pleased. Alicia put on a pout. David, my sister's being mean to me. I thought I could stay with you until the baby's born. Is that okay? Of course, I'd be thrilled. You're welcome to stay as long as you need, he said, so casually it felt like a knife to the chest. I stood there, frozen, watching the exchange. The way they looked at each other, it wasn't sibling affection. It felt like something more, something wrong. David, what's going on? I finally asked, my voice trembling with disbelief. But he waved it off, dismissing my concern. You're just jealous of your cute little sister, he said, his words leaving me speechless. Didn't I tell him everything about my family before we got married? David smiled, oblivious to the storm inside me. We've got a spare bed in the guest room. You can sleep there, he added. Alicia didn't miss a beat. Actually, I was hoping to sleep in the same room as you. You don't mind, do you? She cooed, her voice dripping with sweetness. I couldn't stomach another word. They went to the bedroom, arm in arm, and I stayed rooted to the spot, my heart heavy with a horrible, sinking feeling. Minutes later, I peered into the room. They were embracing, their closeness so intimate, so wrong. Alicia's voice floated to me, laced with triumph. The baby will be so happy, living with Daddy, she said, and then, as if to seal my fate, she added, David's the father. The blood drained from my face as I watched them kiss, tears blurring my vision. From that moment on, everything changed. They treated me like a servant in my own home. I complied, but quietly, I began gathering evidence, making plans. Divorce was a bitter but growing thought. One day, Alicia, her face twisted in false sweetness, demanded that I leave the room because she, as a pregnant woman, needed space. The malice in her gaze stood in stark contrast to the gentleness expected from an expectant mother. I turned to David for support, but he sided with her without hesitation. Any affection I'd had for him evaporated in an instant. Still, I felt a pang of sadness as I watched them share a moment of joy, hand in hand. That was it. My decision was made. I'll leave tomorrow, I said, my voice steady. David grinned, clearly delighted. Actually, maybe you should find somewhere else to stay tonight. This is mine and Alicia's home now. I nodded once, calmly, and walked out. I let them laugh, let them enjoy their brief victory. Outside, the cool air hit my face, and a smile slowly spread across my lips. I was free. That night, I checked into a hotel, starting the process of packing up my life. The next morning, I scheduled a moving company and headed to City Hall. The future was uncertain, but it was mine. My spirit was lifted, and for the first time in ages, I felt hopeful. When I returned home, I was stunned. The moving company was already there, and the house was empty. A small box sat on the floor, a few of my things carelessly thrown inside. At the very bottom of the box was David's wedding ring. The rage hit me like a tidal wave. The house was in disarray. Evidence of David and Alicia's betrayal was everywhere. I led the movers to pack up their belongings, not mine. On the dining table, I found a note, David's handwriting, casually announcing that he and Alicia had left for a 6-day trip abroad. It ended with a request, please clean the house while we're away. Let's finalize the divorce when we're back. The arrogance left me speechless for a moment. Then I laughed, because his absence made my next move even easier. Grateful I had already moved out, I placed David's wedding ring on the kitchen counter, turned my back on the house that had held so much betrayal, and walked away without a second thought. After some reflection, I bought a small apartment near Emily's university. It was a cozy one-bedroom, filled with light and quiet, everything my old life lacked. The solitude was a balm. On the day David and Alicia were due to return, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I didn't even need to check the caller ID. I picked up, calm as ever. Hello? David's voice exploded on the other end. What the hell is going on? I sipped my tea. What do you mean, David? The house is gone. I laughed out loud. Well, it was my house. If I'm not living there, why keep it? We were living there. Oh, don't worry, I said breezily. Your things are in a storage unit. I'll text you the address and access code. He stuttered, then demanded I bring the house back, whatever that was supposed to mean. I reminded him the house was under my name, built entirely with my investments. He didn't contribute a single cent. His silence told me he remembered. Then came the twist. He insisted the baby was his niece or nephew, and begged me to help Alicia because she was going through a tough time. I laughed again, colder this time. You think I didn't know about the two of you? I've been collecting evidence since the day she stepped through that door. I told him about the recordings. Alicia had insisted I buy a high-end baby monitor, threw a tantrum over it. In fact, she didn't realize it recorded audio and video, even in pitch dark. Silence. You should check the mailbox, I added. You'll find certified mail. Both of you. The compensation claims had been sent. He begged me to talk to his lawyer. I hung up. The flood of messages and calls that followed, I ignored them all. My old phone, the one I used to record everything, would be left behind, untouched. An hour later, he gave up. The next day, a call came from one of my father's relatives, likely prompted by Alicia. I hit record. You should apologize to Alicia. The voice scolded. She's pregnant. She needs a home. I don't apologize to women who sleep with my husband. I snapped. She owes me an apology, and compensation. Then, when I was called the child of a kleptomaniac, I let the mask drop. I suppose Alicia inherited more than just your arrogance. I ended the call with a final message. Alicia is never to involve herself in my life again. Then I called my lawyer. The thirst for revenge, it burned in my chest, until I saw their faces in that office. David looked grumpy. Smug even, Alicia appeared as if the world owed her an apology. I laid down the divorce papers. If you sign today, I'll reduce the compensation owed. David didn't hesitate. Pen in hand, he scribbled his name. Alicia smirked and followed suit. I gathered the papers with a smile. Great, I'll submit these to the county. Alicia blinked. Wait, what? Oh, I said sweetly, the divorce was finalized yesterday. You missed the summons. Guess you thought if you ignored it, it'd disappear. Shock washed over both their faces. Then, one last blow. By the way, David, you might not even be the baby's father. His face turned ghostly. Alicia looked like she was about to faint. David stammered, suddenly trying to change course. Wait, what about Emily? For her sake, maybe we should. The office door creaked open. In stepped Emily. She looked right at David. I'll be living with Mom now, she said firmly. I want nothing to do with that woman. Alicia's jaw dropped. Then I delivered the final twist. David didn't own a thing. The house, mine. The car, mine. Alicia's dream of bleeding me dry, shattered. As we left the office, me, Emily, and my lawyer, I felt light, like I'd finally exhaled after holding my breath for years. That night, Emily and I had dinner together for the first time in ages. We laughed, we healed. The divorce was done. That chapter, closed. Alicia and David submitted their marriage license soon after. I signed it, along with Alicia's ex-husband. He'd shared more than just a signature with me. He gave me key information, everything I needed to win. And karma, it worked fast. David got fired for misusing company funds. Vacations with Alicia had come at a cost. Now he juggles part-time jobs. Alicia's new boyfriend dumped her, and she's raising the baby alone, struggling financially. Her plan to ruin me ended up destroying her instead. As for me, I'm doing just fine. Emily's thriving in college. I'm living peacefully, sustained by my investments. And Alicia's ex-husband? He calls me Catherine now. We've grown close. Recently, he asked if we could meet for an important talk. Now, as I sit at my vanity, my cheeks are flushed like a woman falling in love for the first time.